Staying with Jamaica, what will pull the country out of its financial quagmire? That's the million-dollar question many in the island want answers to. Jamaica is halfway through its 4-year economic reform program supported by the International Monetary Fund, IMF. However, the substantial growth islanders are waiting patiently for seems ever so elusive. One of the country's leading trade unionists is advocating for the implementation of a growth inducement strategy developed by the previous Bruce Golding administration. Head of the Hugh Lawson Shearer Institute, Danny Roberts, says the current subcommittee of cabinet established to oversee growth must give the previous government's growth strategy some consideration.
There's a growth inducement strategy which was developed in 2010, which I think is what the government needs to turn its attention to, because it contains various elements to underpin a growth strategy. And I think that we need to examine that and to try to set up an implementation unit out of the Office of the Prime Minister to ensure that aspects of those growth program are implemented. The bottom line is that whatever policies we put in place, whatever strategies we put in place, that those must finally be reflected in the GDP figures. And until that happens, it means then that we are not doing what we ought to be doing.
Jamaica's Extended Fund Facility, EFF, with the IMF culminates in 2017. However, Mr. Roberts reasons that the relationship with the multilateral agency won't end automatically. He says there will be other quantitative monitoring. The trade unionist is urging the government to ensure growth remains the top priority as it approaches the halfway mark in the IMF agreement. He cautions that without a clear-cut growth initiative, the country will remain in a precarious state after it closes the IMF chapter.
Even though the IMF program ends in 2017, that there are still quantitative measures that go well beyond that to 2020, 2021. For example, the IMF in its projection up to 2020, 2021, which is 3 years after the program ends, has the public sector wage bill as a percentage of GDP at 9%. And I'm sure outside of a IMF agreement, there'll be a staff monitoring program, I assume. The fact is that unless the economy grows, then much of what we are doing today will not result in the objectives being met at the end of the program if growth does not take place and grows at a substantial rate. In fact, much of what is predicated up until 2017, 2018, and even to 2020, 2021 is predicated on an annualized growth rate of 2.5%. And the problem that we are facing is that the projection for growth globally in developed countries, in the developing countries, in Latin America and the Caribbean, that those projections have over the period of time been downgraded. So we face a real challenge in meeting the growth rate of 2.5% per annum, simply to sustain ourselves and have the ability to be able to repay the debt, which is likely to grow by, certainly from the domestic side, by an additional $120 billion over the next 4 years.